Welcome to Pass the Aux, Wyatt and I's first ever podcast. I guess that's not really true. Wyatt's first ever podcast.
My first ever podcast.
And more importantly, the best ever music podcast created. I've heard rumors. This is a podcast that myself and Wyatt, cousins of 17 long years, and we've always loved to talk about music. So today we're live here. He's got a bloody nose, so bear with us. We hope to review albums, talk about different music topics. Wyatt, he gets a little opinionated from time to time. And we've made some music videos before, kind of related to music, but today we want to keep it strictly on albums for this episode. And we call it Pass the Aux because we're in the car. You always know it's the best place to listen to music from. And as Wyatt deals with his bloody nose, I'm actually going to do a magic trick on him.
Oh,
Wait.
I'm scared for this.
Wait, there's something behind your ear.
There is.
Wait. Ta-da! Graduation by Kanye West. Our first ever album that we're reviewing on Pass the Aux. And Wyatt was just keeping that behind him for later.
Tuck behind my ear.
Exactly. So this is an album that Wyatt and I both feel really connected to. It's an album that when we first got into talking about music, this was one of the first ones that we reviewed. If you've seen the acclaimed YouTube video, Grad Party. Of like the intro of like his music career.
No, I take it as more literal.
What is the name of his first album?
The College Dropout.
So how would he have graduated? I'm just saying, logistically speaking.
He re-enrolled.
Fair enough, that is something people can do. And I ate it because I'm so avid. No homo.
Who else do you know was throwing in a no homo in 2007? So if you were to release like a 7 out of 10 song, not that it would do numbers, but it would sound great. And it would get decent numbers. It would get better than what he's been doing.
He's retiring from the OU School of Aviation Studies.
One of his fans threw a Goomba plushie up on stage. So that's pretty cool.
That's gotta be racist.
I thought that too.
Because it definitely has to be. That's a pretty good one. Show that one to the camera.
This one is
that's a good
a little questionable.
You'll know that we have some thoughts on this, but we thought it might be interesting to come back now a few years later and see where our thoughts are at, where we stand, how much we've changed. I know at the time, I don't know if I've ever listened to Graduation all the way through, and I was kind of letting Wyatt guide me through it. Wyatt was like, hey, I know this song, and oh, trust me, this song's good. Now here we are a few years later, and I'm the Kanye fan, and Wyatt's the one who feels like he doesn't even fully remember this album. So we've kind of almost flipped sides in the past few years. And I mean, this was an album that was absolutely massive when it came out 17 years ago. The year that I was born, this album came out. So this album is older than you.
It is.
Think about that.
By a few months.
This album is older than you, Unc. Well, I guess the album would be Unc. I guess, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
then you'd be like Grandpa, because you're.
I'll take that.
Album.
Pops. That's the one. Yeah.
No.
This album was big because of its marketing. Kanye and 50 Cent going at it. Who was battling? Kanye had Graduation. 50 Cent had Curtis. Those two albums were kind of fighting for spots. As Wyatt's bloody nose continues, I'll keep going. Kanye sold 957,000 copies of this album week one. Those are insane numbers. Almost 1 million week one. And nowadays, you rarely hear anything like that. It has to be one of the most mainstream albums in the world to really get that level of popularity. Kanye did it before, a lot of people were even on the scene. I think the biggest thing that people look at then was this was a point where a lot of the gangster rap kind of stopped, and we saw Kanye really fully take over hip-hop and bring in his more, I don't want to say radio friendly because that's definitely not true, but it's a less violent form of hip-hop, and there's even a few songs on here where Kanye goes into that and his issue with the violence that he saw himself in Chicago, and how he thinks that that's not something that should be rapped about. That's something, though, that he's preached all the way back since his debut album, The College Dropout, on Jesus Walks. Now here we are, 3-ish years after the release of that, and Kanye hits us with his junior album, and I think it is just fantastic. From start to finish, it's enjoyable. I know Wyatt, now back from the dead, also enjoys it, and I mean, do you kind of feel that same way?
Feel that same way in what regard? Sorry, the
blood
yeah.
is good. I mean, did you enjoy it?
Oh yeah.
Was this one of the
definitely
from start to finish?
From start to finish, and it's one of the few, mainstream, super popular albums where I can agree. I still enjoy it thoroughly, all the way out. From what is it? Good morning to good night, literally on this album. I find value in every song, which is rare for me. I'm not a big album person. And I think this album is one of the few exceptions for me, especially in the mainstream scene.
I know a few years ago, like once again, I said I hadn't listened to the album all the way through. You had.
Mm-hmm.
I find it interesting now that you mentioned that you're not an album type of guy.
Mm-hmm.
What drew you to listening to this one fully as an album?
Well, I think we were 14 and 15 around that time, so I think what I was ingesting musically at that time led me to suggestions from people on the internet of this album, and it just gave me the idea, because I had heard a few songs, here and there, but it gave me the courage to go out to go out and fully listen to something, because I've never been an album person. It's always been a struggle for me, but it was pretty seamless getting into this one.
And it's not the longest album ever. I'm pretty sure that this copy here, which is just the CD copy, is 13 songs. And then if you include what was originally an iTunes exclusive, Good Night, on the album, technically it's 14 songs, but nowadays I'm pretty sure almost every streaming service has Good Night on it.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what happened with that deal, but let's say for the better part of it, it's 14 songs long. It feels so quick, and not quick rush. It feels quick in the sense that it just goes by.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel like, I've turned on an album, it's dragging, I'm tired of it. Sonically, it sounds the same. I know when we've listened to some artists, and obviously I would never put them on the same level, people like Playboi Carti, they'll make a 30-song album, and you just feel like you're hearing the same songs over and over again. I didn't feel this way at all with Graduation. And I think it all starts at the beginning. Good Morning is such a strong opener. The Elton John sample, and Kanye's he's immediately going into it. I think the music video that supplements it is one of Kanye's best music videos, the little bear hopping in the DeLorean, he's late for graduation. But I think it's just such a strong opener, and when you start to listen to some of those lyrics that Kanye talks about on that first song, he comes back to them. And so maybe, and I do feel like most people who listen to music don't necessarily listen to it for lyrics. I think that's an unfortunate reality, but I do believe that's the way it is. But when you do pay attention, several listens through, you'll start to hear different things. Kanye kind of talks about, Jay-Z, or you'll hear some sort of Jay-Z sample on Good Morning, or Champion, right? And then you get to the end of the album and you're listening to Homecoming and Big Brother, and then it's like, oh, okay, so this was, at first what you don't even really recognize, you later start to realize that this is an intentional story being told. And I think that's part of what makes it so easy to listen to. It's not stopped at Good Morning, though. It keeps going. You look immediately then at Champion, which follows the Steely Dan sample. You put me on the Champion. When we first listened to it, and I think that's what's so important about this podcast, I got to give credit to people who put me on.
I would never. That's the difference between us.
You put me onto that song, and it is killer. I just fell in love with that song, and then it's nonstop. You got Stronger. I'm pretty sure that's Kanye's biggest song ever. If not, it would be.
It's definitely up there.
I think it is his numbers-wise, his biggest song ever, and then I Wonder, and then from there, it's just non-stop bangers. As corny as that may sound, it just really is. Now, the interesting part about this album, and Wyatt, I'll let you weigh in here, is once you get to the middle, there is a song or two where it really drags, and that's when you get to Barry Bonds and Drunken Hot Girls. And for a long time, those two songs were considered some of his worst songs ever.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you feel? Do you feel like those songs drag the album, or were you kind of like, I like them?
See, I'm very, and if you watch Grad Party, you would know I'm very passionate about, or at the time I was very passionate about Barry Bonds. It still has a place in my heart because of that.
Such a big heart.
What? Anyway, Drunken Hot Girls I would agree, it's a little bit of an anvil, if you will, to the album. It just kind of weighs it down a bit, and I think the album would benefit without it. But I think Drunken Hot Girls is perfectly on par with the rest of the album. I don't see the huge issue with it. I know people complain about the mixing or maybe the lyrics.
Just the sound. The sound is just not enjoyable to listen to, and I don't know what the human psychology is behind that, but you listen to Drunken Hot Girls and it kind of hurts to listen to.
Right.
It's a little painful. And the chorus is just, even the chorus isn't fast-paced, it's just really, I mean, that's what he's going for, I guess, on the song, is it's supposed to kind of feel like it, not to get too deep into it, but it's a cycle of messing with women and alcohol and feeling that, he's not going anywhere, he's stuck. There's a way to tell a story about being stuck and miserable without making the song feel miserable. I don't want to listen to that. And if that's what he was going for, mission accomplished, I guess. It's just not what I'm looking for in a song. And I like the way you say it's an anvil. Like, it's heavy, it's weighing it down. And like I said, for the longest time, people considered it one of his worst songs ever.
Right.
But then he picks it up. And you go into that back nine of the album, and you've got songs like Homecoming, Big Brother, Good Night, The Glory. What's the other one? Well, I'm trying to think. There's another really good one there at the end. And we keep it real. We're not, this isn't scripted. We like to keep it like a genuine conversation.
The Good Life. You ready to say that?
I think Good Life is at the beginning.
It is?
Yeah.
I could have sworn it was at the end.
It'll come to me. It's the song where Kanye talks a lot about Chicago violence. Everything I Am. Boom.
That's what I was thinking.
Everything I Am. And, oh man, that's the way to do a slower song and keep it so engaging. You feel it. You feel the emotion. You listen to what he's saying. He, unfortunately for you, because I know you're a big fan of what rap and hip-hop have become, people used to enunciate their words, and it's very clear to understand what Kanye is saying. It's not difficult. You get what he's saying. You can actually hear him say lyrics, and man, oh man, does that song, it sticks with you. Talking about, people call Chicago sometimes Chirac. It's kind of an older thing now that you don't hear. I know you weren't born. I wasn't.
I was aware of it.
And they compare the violence and he compares the violence in Chicago to Iraq at the time, kind of, as a way to show that Chicago can be this violent place, and that's not, that's not good at all, and that he doesn't like that. That's become what a lot of the talking points are about in hip hop. Homecoming, that song, once again, about loving Chicago but having issues with it. Those type of songs, Homecoming used to be my favorite. I do kind of find those songs a little corny, and I think a lot of people, when they talk about their city, Drake's a big Toronto guy, or Kendrick's big Compton. I'm not the biggest fan when people talk about their city. I do find it a little corny. Oh yeah, Chicago, I love them, but I struggle to love them. It's a city of people, and I get that, that's what they're going for, that it's supposed to be like, I want to like this group of people, and I can't. But sometimes it just feels a little dramatic. Like, how much of Chicago, like, it almost feels like it feels a little egotistical because it's like the whole city, it's me versus the city. Or Drake and Kendrick with Compton, Toronto, my city loves me. It's like, it's a city. Honest to God, how many people really care about me in the city? And it's like, the city doesn't like me. Or he feels like, he talks about how Chicago, Kanye says Chicago pushed him away almost. It's like, it's a little dramatic. You weren't banned from places. There might have been a few people there that didn't like you or thought that you were trying to, like he talks about people were mad at him for leaving Chicago to go work in New York and then start his career essentially from there. I don't think, and looking back now, I don't think that that's the strongest point. One thing I didn't even realize for the longest time as Wyatt and I have gotten into music is I thought about this. Why does Kanye have a Coldplay feature on a song about Chicago? What relevance? It makes the song sound great, but you do have to think about things like that sometimes, because it's like, if I've got a song, and you just have something completely different, it's like, he has no relation to Chicago. You think maybe you put a Chicago rapper on? Something. No, It's like, let's put Coldplay on. I don't know. That song has been a little bit weakened for me. And I think, though, he concludes it great. I still think that there is a message there. I do just think it's a little corny. And I think Big Brother, where he talks about Jay-Z, is great. If only whenever Kanye tried to make up with somebody, he actually stayed made up with them. We've seen it countless times where Kanye gets in a fight with somebody, makes up, and then now they hate each other. He hates Jay-Z right now. Went on a whole Twitter rant about his kids this year. They don't speak. I always want to judge the music for the time that it was made. Obviously, 2007 was a different time for Jay-Z and Kanye. However, thinking about it, it's like, here we are in 2025. To you, Wyatt, and I want to ask you, because I don't think it ruins the song or songs like it, but that does kind of stick with you, right? When you hear a song about an apology or making up with somebody, and then when you listen to it, you know the way it played out. And now that they aren't friends, does that kind of lessen the song or make it, I just have to listen to it with an asterisk now because I know.
I don't think so at all. I think it's actually the opposite effect. I like being able to view music as a time capsule for what was going on at the time. And if he was making up with Jay-Z at the time, it's almost like a little point in history for him. And you can look back at that song and compare it and contrast it to what's going on with him and Jay-Z today. And I think that all music is like that. So I don't think it has a little asterisk effect. I think it gives you an opportunity to go look back at what changed from now until back then.
I like the way you put that. I think one of the biggest things that I've seen in change in Kanye's music, and you say looking at it back then, was this album, I should say, is filled with so many hit songs. So many. You don't see that nowadays. With Kanye, with Drake, with Kendrick, you see maybe one or two hit songs. There are so many on this album. Good Morning, Stronger, Good Life, Homecoming. Homecoming was a bit. Flashing Lights. I Wonder has really blown up now in the 2020s. I don't know if it was as big at the time. It's kind of crazy to think about that. Like how many hit songs Kanye packed into one album. And so I want to kind of tie back to Barry Bond's Drunken Hot Girls, where maybe he has one song that's not a banger. Well, that might be a little bit more prevalent when every song in the track list compared to it is, a Hotline Bling before Hotline Bling was a thing. So I do think that kind of can make things seem a little bit more of a problem than they are. When you look at most rap albums nowadays, they're going to have 15 songs like Drunken Hot Girls that are kind of hard to listen to, forgettable, and maybe they have one hit. I truly think it's incredible what happened on this album. I think it was a byproduct of the time and the place and everything Kanye had gone through and him changing his music sonically. Obviously, we know his album that would follow this is the one that would truly change hip-hop with 808s and Heartbreak. But I think that this album, by far, one of the best hip hop albums of all time. I would put it top 5. I don't know. We'll put it top 10. I think without a doubt. And you'll be hard pressed to find people who don't like it. And when people criticize Kanye nowadays, it's become the running joke to say, well, he made Graduation. Because it's that good of an album that people jokingly say, it doesn't matter what he does. Like, this piece of work is so outstanding that there is nothing he could say that, you know, would be that bad, because this album is simply that good. And I got to know, Wyatt, because we talk about how good it is. We got to talk about our favorite songs. So I want to know your best song off the album. I want to know your worst song off the album.
Okay. My best song off the album is probably Homecoming. And
Really?
I know that you were just talking about...
Not hating, but talking
No,
about it.
yeah. To me, lyrics mean less. So I'm diving less into the things that you found corny in it, and him talking about his city as much. I think sonically, it is by far the best song on the album. I think it has a great little like ambience to it. I think it's his best vocal performance by far. And I don't think anywhere on the album, even though the rest of the songs are extremely good, I don't think anywhere touches Homecoming in terms of just how it sounds.
I know you say, and I appreciate that, because I believe that that's also part of this dynamic. I know it's our first episode, but as you guys continue to realize, sometimes I look a little bit more into the music, while Wyatt, I don't want to say surface level, but we'll say surface level. There's not necessarily stuff that Wyatt's looking to really dig into. But what I learned about Homecoming was that it was a song that was made before The College Dropout even came out. The song is about him feeling like Chicago has pushed him away, but he still loves it. He hadn't even released his first album by the time he made this song. To me, that feels disingenuous. To be like, hey, I feel so pushed away. And maybe that's kind of how he felt at the time, but then again, that makes it even more, like, ridiculous. You're not even, not famous, I guess, but you're not at the level of fame that you will be at in a year with The College Dropout, then another 2 years later with Late Registration, and then so on. So he's kind of reusing that message to say, hey, I still feel like I've been pushed away, but if you've been feeling like this for years, then it wasn't really this giant fame. It's almost like, wow, you guys pushed me away for being famous, but if you felt like they pushed you away 5 years ago, okay, that's a little strange. And at the time, he had a different feature on. I can't remember who was the feature. It was not Coldplay. I am 90% sure it was somebody from Chicago. I thought about that, and I do think that definitely, it's like if I make a song talking about how rich I am and I'm broke, it could still sound amazing, but yeah, to me, personally, as one of those people who will look a little bit deeper into it, that can kind of ruin a song in a way. I agree, though. Without a doubt, Homecoming, one of the best sonically sounding songs. Like, it is one of the best in hip-hop. That piano is so catchy, and it sticks with you, and his flow is great. I do really like what Coldplay does on the chorus. I love what's the name? Chris? I guess Chris. I don't want to get the last name wrong, but it's definitely Chris.
Definitely Chris.
Big Chris from Coldplay, if you're watching this, I love you. And you did a great job on the chorus. Yeah, you just tie it all together. I've done a music video to that before, to Homecoming. I had a sign language project, and we had to make a music video. So I did the entire video in sign language for Homecoming. So believe me when I say I know where you're coming from. It has been one of my favorite songs, but something that I've kind of leaned away from in recent years. Let's hear for your worst.
My worst?
Your worst, the one you hated. Or maybe you didn't hate, you just think the rest are better.
I would go with Drunken Hot Girls. I think especially compared to its counterpart, if you will, Barry Bonds. I think that for two songs being labeled as like some of his worst, and his worst on the album for sure.
Wyatt loves Barry Bonds. Think back to Grad Party.
Yeah.
You know he's a big fan.
Yeah.
So I kind of get that.
I think for the two being so comparable, Barry Bonds is so much better in every aspect. And I'm not even saying Barry Bonds is that great of a song, but you compare it to Drunken Hot Girls, and I believe it is. That or Drunken Hot Girls is just not good at all. So for me, I think Drunken Hot Girls gets pushed down, just in comparison to everything else.
I'm going to agree. And I'll start at the bottom. My least favorite song is also Drunken Hot Girls. I don't know how much more I have to add on that. I said earlier, I think it's slow. I think it's hard to listen to. And unlike Wyatt, I do think that this is an actively bad song, not just that the rest are better. And then where I'll differ with you, though, is on my favorite song, Flashing Lights. That is the catchiest song on the album, in my opinion. It fits so many different situations, and I just love, it's not even a metaphor, but the way that Kanye, puts the way he feels about the fame and everything as these flashing lights of cameras and stuff. I thought that was really creative. And oh my goodness, have you ever heard a song that sounds like Flashing Lights? It is just, Crisp makes it sound too sharp, but it just is, it's kind of a magical song. You just flow with the song. It gets you in a certain vibe. And for a song that you might think comes off a little egotistical or prideful about all these flashing lights, it really sticks the landing. And it relates, I feel like, to a lot of people on something where they might not even be able to relate to having cameras flash at them, especially nowadays with things like phones and stuff. Look at the Super Bowl. You never see flashing lights before the first kickoff anymore. We've kind of lost that, but people still relate to that song. They still love it. And I think for even kind of surface level people, it's one of those songs that is just stuck with them. You put that on the aux, people are going word for word with that song. They're not, there's some songs from Kanye you put on and it's like, this is good, but you don't know. People will sing that song with you. Homecoming, I don't know if everybody knows that song. And I'm not saying that just because a song is known by everybody, it's the best, but there is a reason for that. People, are naturally go to what they like, and I think Flashing Lights has an amazing story, and I don't think that I've heard a Kanye song that sounds, and I don't want to say this because then it could contradict what I might say at a different point, but for the Kanye being the king of samples and knowing how to sample a song and rearrange it, I think that it's his best sampling work. Because to me, it doesn't feel like he sampled it. Devil in a New Dress is another one of those top songs. I know it's from a different album. To me, when I listen to that song, it still sounds kind of sampled. Flashing Lights doesn't. It doesn't feel like it's somebody else's song. Or I guess that it was part of somebody else's song. So I'm going to put that at the top of my list. I think it's the best off Graduation, and I think it's one of the best songs that Kanye's ever made, by far.
Yeah. I'm a Flashing Lights enjoyer, but I wouldn't say I'm a super fan of it. I think that there's probably 3 to 4 songs on the album that are better.
Wow. 4 songs.
Potentially.
Potentially. Give me them right now. Rapid fire. What are the 4?
Good Morning, Champion, Homecoming. As for a 4th, I'll say 3. I'll say 3 better songs.
I don't think Good Morning's better.
You don't think Good Morning's better?
No. Maybe Champion, if that's kind of your vibe.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's a crazy take.
I don't see it as such, but
I think a lot of people would say that Flashing Lights is one of his best songs.
Really?
I think a lot of people feel super strongly about that song. I think when we first ranked during grad party, we probably both said Good Morning. So it's interesting to see that Good Morning is stuck up kind of near the top.
Yeah, and I do enjoy Flashing Lights. I just have preferences within the album.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the cover. Now, I don't know if we'll have this for every episode, but we've got the physical CD here. This album was never pressed onto vinyl. It was only put on CD, and it wasn't streaming, but it was, iTunes era. With that, obviously, we said Goodnight being an iTunes special, but the album got delayed for a while. Takashi Murakami, the album cover artist, spent a lot of time working on it, and Kanye said he delayed the album partially because he wanted, the correct amount of time to actually make the album look how he wanted, it to look like. Like, there was a certain process, he had a certain vision. And I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think he also wanted to release the same day as 50 Cent, just for that kind of whole drama and storyline. But when you open it up, it's just beautiful. That orange kind of fade, it just looks great. Like it feels like a quality album, and I love the purple color scheme. There's not a lot of albums that'll look like this. Just that the whole kind of ombre of these colors, and then when you open it, it's got great packaging, and then a lot of it looks like it's ripped straight out of the music video. You can see the ghosts chasing the little bear and stuff. Great presentation from start to finish. There's got a little poster on this side that I keep in there, but the whole thing looks beautiful. I think you would probably agree with me on that. So where would you rank this in terms of album covers?
Album covers all time.
Do you love it? Or are you just like, it's okay?
I'm not sure on album covers all time, but it is definitely my favorite Kanye album cover. You know, and it keeps up with the little bear and the
college bear.
The college trilogy, if you will. So it's by far my favorite Kanye album, especially with the albums he's put out as of late. So I have nothing bad to say about this album cover. It's
iconic.
A very solid album cover.
I feel like a lot of people know it. It's just so easy to look at, but then when you look closer, and I think this is a representation of the album, super easy to look at. It's a bear floating, whatever. There's a little, I don't know what you call that, some sort of architecture there, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the surface level, it just looks kind of like you can tell what it is, but when you look at it closer, you start to see a lot more of what's happening in the picture. Kind of like the album. Tons of love for it on the surface level, and even more the second that you start diving into the album and looking at the lyrics and looking at the stories being told. I think overall, I'm going to give the album a 9 out of 10. I don't think I would give it a 10 out of 10 because I don't think it's perfect. And something I want to say that I've heard before is like, okay, what if an album's 6 songs and all 6 of those songs is the album perfect? Because then what about an album that's 14 songs long and 12 of those songs are perfect, right? How do you balance that? And I do think that's a tough thing, and I think it might be on a case-to-case basis, but I would say generally, if an album is 4, 5, 6 songs long, and those are all perfect, I would not put that album on the same level as a 14th song album that has maybe 12 perfect. So while I'm giving it a 9, I do think that that's a very high rating, and it's very close to a 10. Very, very close. I don't like to do, 9.75. It's a 9, but I think that if you gave it a 10, that's not something I'd be mad at.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be one of the few times we ever agree on an album rating, because I think I wrote down an 8.5, and then I said 8.5 to 9 because I'm not a big fan of half numbers or anything either. So I would agree. I think it's also a 9. There are a couple songs that maybe aren't skips, but are less perfect, keeping it from being a 10. But it's definitely one of the most quality works I've ever heard.
It's also probably one of the only works you've heard. You said you don't even listen to albums. This one got you to listen to a full album.
I do sometimes listen to full albums, and you know,
sometimes.
Name
the last full album you listened to.
Well, let me think here.
Any day now.
It might have been that Cardi album, Music.
This guy doesn't even know. That should tell you all you need to know. He doesn't even know. That's how good of an album it is.
Yeah.
So 9 out of 10. Favorite song, Flashing Lights. Favorite song, Homecoming. Yeah, check it out. I mean, I shouldn't even say that. Everybody's heard it. 975,000 sales the first week. In an age where they're buying the CD. Crazy number of sales. I'm thoroughly enjoying the album years later now from when we first reviewed it. And I think there's still a lot to, still learn about the album. I'm not a full-time music professor, so I think that's all for today on Pass the Aux. We appreciate you tuning in. First episode. We're going to continue to learn and improve the show as we go along, but we like the car format because what other podcast is in a car? I can't name one.
I can't name one either.
I wouldn't expect you to.
Is that a shot?
No, not a shot. A
Oh.
compliment.
It kind of seemed like a
No,
shot.
not at all. Our goal, once again, is to kind of take a look at an album, maybe a little bit after it's come out, give you our thoughts on it, what we recommend, and then also we're going to have some episodes where we talk about some of the other topics in music, kind of debate those, what we think, and so that's kind of our format. So expect probably every other week an episode, and see what we've got. We hope to keep pumping these out for you guys because we just love talking about music, and hopefully we can find some people who love talking with music with us as well, and maybe even get you in the back seat right there. Sounded a little creepy. Sounded a little.
If they're brave enough.
Okay. We will make it very nice if you come on the show. That's all for today. Wyatt's a little freaked out. Once again, thanks for tuning in to Pass the Aux. We'll see you guys next time.